Hello, good afternoon to everybody listening to us. This is the voice of pedagogues, educational consultancy services dedicated to giving good advice to parents, teachers, and good school administrators who want the best for their children. Today, like you have been listening to us, we have been discussing a lot of issues in the educational system and our information you to qualitative education. So we urge you to be listening to us, to continue to listen to us, appreciate the WhatsApp platform, every member of that platform. So today, I'm happy to tell the Nigerian community that we have been able to write a very good book, which will be the material for what we will be dishing out on this platform. So it's not a playful thing, and we are going to make sure that we discuss educational matters like we have been discussing. And our classes will also always come up on this platform to continue to support us and share our videos. So today we'll be talking about the appraisal of traditional and Western educational system in Nigeria. Yes, according to Babatunde Fafunwa, 1974, people memories to them. People without history are victims of collective amnesia, moving into the future without signs of their past. So, if we are to talk about the issues and trends of the system, it is very important for us to reflect on history. So, because education by its very nature is a transmission of norms, values, tradition, beliefs from one generation to the other. So, history is very good. And in Nigeria, we have the traditional educational system before the colonial rule. So, the colonial rule, we have our indigenous educational system, which took care of so many things. Everyone in the indigenous educational system has a specific role to play: the father, the mother, the sister, the auntie, the uncle, everybody. And even though the curriculum of the traditional educational system was not known, was not documented, but it was really known, and it was used to educate the children of that period. And the educational system of the traditional era hinges heavily on the following cardinal objectives: development of character. Yes, today character is very, very much important, and even it has a reflection in the Western education too, because we are talking about civic education, social studies, and some other cultural and creative arts goes a long way to talk about the character of the child. Then the development of the latent physical skill, development of intellect, having a sense of a sense of belonging, vocational skills, and community affairs. Those were the cardinal objectives of the traditional educational system, and which was very much in vogue during this period. So Africa have our history. We have our history about the educational system, and the period in the traditional educational system, different family have different culture, different tradition, different occupation which they transmit. And the major occupation as at that time was farming, dyeing, weaving, blacksmithing, craftsmanship, and many other educational system which was passed from generation to generation. And also different families have different occupation that is attributed to them. So that was the track record of the traditional educational system. So, having gone through that period, then we have the Quranic educational system, the Islamic educational system. Islam predated Christianity in Africa for like 300 years. So, the Quranic educational system came into existence before the Western educational system. During the Quranic educational system, we have the Afa, teaching people, teaching children how to behave, and beating them, giving them whip if they fail to learn. We have two types of schools during that period: the Makaranta Allo and the Makaranta Ami. Imi, the recitation of the Quran and the reading and writing. So there was no much emphasis on understanding. There was emphasis on recitation. So which was a peculiar feature of the what Quranic educational So these indices are very, very much important. Even in our Western educational system, you cannot be saying that you are teaching a child. Even in our primary school, we have rote learning as a system of education. So which is very, very much important. A child cannot learn perfectly without putting some things into memory. Then after that, we have the Western education, which came to Africa through the Church Missionary Society, the Methodist, the Wesleyan Mission, the Kwaibu Church, the Baptist Mission, and many other missions like that. They brought the educational system to us, and which was somehow appears better than the Quranic educational system and the traditional educational system. So they were teaching us to read the Bible, how to write, and there was more less emphasis on understanding. They were teaching us to be interpreters. They used the language of the colonial masters to educate us. So that was the type of education we received during this period. So after this period, we now had the National Curriculum Conference, which took place in 1969. So it was during this period that we had after this period, then we had the uh, national policy on education, which hinges heavily on promoting free and democratic society, just and egalitarian society, a united and self-reliant nation, a great and dynamic economy, a land bright of full opportunities for all citizens. So after the curriculum conference, there was various meetings which now led to the status quo on the aim of primary education, secondary education, tertiary education, vocational education, adult education, distance education, and many others. So after this period, then we now had a yardstick to measure what type of education that we want to adopt. So it was a conglomerate of various experts, various artisans, experts, many people that were knowledgeable came together during this period to draft the curriculum that we wanted to that we want to achieve to adopt in Nigeria. So after the adoption of this curriculum, then it witnessed different modification, the 1981, 1988 modification, 2004 modification, and today it has gone through a lot of metamorphosis. So it has metamorphosized into the 634 educational system, the 934 educational system, and many other policies came in along the line. We're talking about the homegrown school feeding, distance education, vocational education, and the yardstick for science education, art education, and many other things. So history is very, very much important. So when we are talking about the curriculum of education or the policy of education. The policy of education in Nigeria is different from the policy of education in Ghana. It's different from the policy of education in Cameroon. So now we are talking about the policy of education. So it has to do with what a particular people want is different. The type of education that will be needed in Nigeria might be different from the type of education that is needed in Ghana. In other words, education is to people what they want. Yes, it's to people what they want. So it has to be adopted to the ancestral environment. That's why we're talking about the sociology of education, that is the link between education and the society, what the society wants. So the people decide, the power to decide the type of education that people want really resides with the people. Yes, so that's why today in Nigeria we talk there are yardstick for primary education. During primary education, it is believed that the child needs to know how to read, how to write, and how to perform some arithmetics. So that's what I was telling the parents the other time, that it is very much important for your child to be able to read and write and to be able to analyze knowledge, to be able to comprehend. It's not a function of age. You don't need to promote a child that is not able to read and write to secondary school. We will only be giving the teachers a lot of problem because teachers by their very nature are not magicians. So parents need to note this. Once your child can comprehend, can read and write before they get out of primary school, they will not give teachers problem. So we don't want it to be long. It will be in episodes, and it will be very short episode. We urge you to continue to listen to us. We want you to continue. We are on the vision to illuminate Africa with apt educational philosophy, and we are here. We are here. We have been able to write this, as you can see. So we will try as much as possible to begin to talk about salient issues on educational matters, and we urge you to share our video, to share our link, to tell educationists, parents, school administrators to listen to us. We are on the journey to illuminating Africa with apt educational philosophy. So my name is Kende Ogushiji, the anchor of Pedagogue Educational Consultancy Services. You want to call us or you need any information, you can call us on this number and give us a WhatsApp message on 09022621606. Thank you and God bless.